Paul Kerensa is an award-winning comedian, actor, comedy writer, radio presenter, podcast and author, and he's bringing his one-man play, the first broadcast to St Saviour's. Paul, welcome to Radio Verulam.
Thank you for having me. Very exciting to be here.
Now, on the tour, you go to comedy clubs, or you've been going to comedy clubs, pubs, and also churches. Now, you're coming to St Saviour's here on Sandpit Lane on Wednesday the 15th. You wrote a book, So a Comedian Walks Into a Church. What is it with churches?
Well, I've been in and out of them for some time, I suppose. I've been a Christian since I was a teenager, and I wrote the book partly because I was on the road a lot as a comedian every Saturday. Certainly when I was writing it, it's most Saturdays now, but it was always every Saturday, normally way across country. And certainly in my bachelor days, I would just be away on the road for 10 days at a time, and you find little linking gigs between them and stay on sofas and the like. But it meant every Sunday I was finding a different church across country, and I'd deliberately seek out churches that were different from my home church. And I noticed in the course of a year, I was sampling Anglican, Baptist, Methodist, Quaker, Evangelical, Catholic. I haven't made Orthodox yet. I turned up and they were closed, but I mean to. So I wrote the book, So a Comedian Walks Into a Church, based on those experiences, really, and what I felt each of those different churches, how they all offered something different, looking at what they've got in common and what they did really well as well. And I thought what I gained and what I thought was a marvellous thing about them.
Yeah, and is there a difference performing in a church? Because I say here in St Albans, we got so many churches, and Father Richard, without wanting to sort of praise him too much, he really opens the door, and we've got his beer and fizz festival is taking place, and it is about sort of bringing people in to the church. Do you find there's a difference performing, or is it just a space?
Yeah, no, it is different, and I think every venue is different as well. I think one of the main things that I learned, I've been gigging now for 20 years or so, and every single room I find you have to look at carefully, from a comedy club to a church to a back room of a pub. Partly it's about sight lines and where they can hear you, where they're seated, seating, what the lighting's like, all of those things. But also in a church, there's a slightly different atmosphere as well. And even then, I have to find out at the start, generally speaking, like, is everyone in the front row, the back row? Are they all regulars at the church? Are they all visitors? Because you can go there and you need to sort of read the situation, really. And sometimes I felt, in churches you need to reassure people. Because it's certainly when I'm doing a comedy show, I do a lot of comedy shows in churches. And often you have to sort of tell Christians who are regulars there that it's going to be okay, you can laugh in church, it's going to be okay. But also you also have to remind those who have been dragged there, who are friends of the churchgoers, who are neighbours or whatever, you have to say it's going to be fine. It's not going to be twee. It's not going to be too light and frothy. It's going to be, it's going to be all right. So you have to reassure both sides of people in different ways. Like, you can laugh and you will laugh.
And tomorrow, the 18th, is traditionally known as Blue Monday. And as a response to this, you've come up with a little scheme for this week. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
I have, yeah. I decided, obviously, we're in lockdown, so January is a depressing month anyway. We've had Christmas, we've just come out of it. It's still dark, the weather's not very good, and Monday, the 18th of January, it's the second. It's to do with the Monday in January, so whichever day it falls on. But this year it's Monday the 18th. So Monday the 18th of January is known as Blue Monday, and apparently it's the most depressing day of the year, and so I decided that I was going to set up a virtual retreat, I've called it. So a week of sessions. They're all going to be on Facebook. So they're all going to be led as Facebook Lives. So you people can dip in and dip out of them. They'll be saved in the group. So if you're busy at some time, you can't make it, you can watch it later.
Right.
And I just wanted to give people, to inspire people, to motivate people, to give people challenges. I mean, lots of people set New Year's resolutions. I think this is the date when most people give up on them, actually. They set New Year's resolutions, they're unachievable. So I wanted just to, set some simple challenges and show people some simple things that they can do for their well-being, for their general health, and just to try and make people happy at this time of year, during this lockdown.
And what are some of the things that you've got coming up then?
I've got so many people, honestly. I've got 2 other people doing physical sessions. So it's not just about, sitting and listening. So there's going to be 3 exercise sessions. You've got your Pilates, then we've got a HIIT class with Jump and Juice.
Wow.
And we've got a workout with Emma Hunt, who's a local personal trainer. And then the last one is Catherine Horstman, who's going to be talking to us about how we can boost our mood with food.
Wow.
So they're all really all really positive, and they're all, as I said, they're all things which are small changes you can make in your life just to give you that a bit of a boost, make you smile.
Caroline, the education, the adult education, is part of this new centre. What actually is the role of the adult education officer?
Well, I'm quite unusual in that I think I might be the only full-time adult learning officer in any cathedral in England. There are a couple of others who do similar roles, but it's quite exciting here. I manage a programme of events which include talks, courses, study days, summer schools, that kind of thing, and I also look after our library and our archives, and that's been made so much better with this new learning centre, because not only have we got this beautiful new library, but we've also got 2 new learning classrooms, which is fantastic. It gives us so much more opportunity to put on talks and events.
Is there a thirst for learning? I mean, we spoke about, people here at St Albans, it's incredible. You could come on a Sunday and the amount of people who come into worship is just phenomenal. But is that really reflected then as well? There's not just a thirst for worship, there's a thirst for furthering their knowledge within spirituality as well.
Well, yeah, we had over 2,500 people come to our events just in the adult learning department last year, which is amazing. It means that there are lots and lots of people who are interested in what we're talking about. And I think part of the reason that that's possible is that we try to provide opportunities for people wherever they're at in their journey of faith, and indeed for those who do not have a faith at all. So we try and explore faith through literature and history and ethics and music, art, science fiction, that kind of thing, so that there are opportunities, regardless of what your particular interests are, to engage with some of the events that we're doing.
And, yoga is something that everyone probably will know the word, and everyone will think they know what it is. Is it just about doing exercises, or is it a lot more than that?
How long have you got?
All right, okay.
For most people, and I'm talking about the vast majority of people, it is just about stretching and toning, building strength, building flexibility, connecting with their body and feeling really, really good. And that's absolutely fine. Some people take it a stage further and will use it. They notice something different is changing and they want to explore a little bit more. So they might start looking into the philosophy and some of the mythology, which goes around the different yoga postures. And that's when it really starts to come alive. And it does that because it's tapping into the creative part of the mind as opposed to the logical reptilian part of the mind. So it becomes more colourful and more vibrant. And then they might move into the more meditative parts of yoga through expanding breath management, because the breath is the bridge between your physical movement and your different layers of consciousness. So we start to regulate the breath. And then you may go deeper into the inner practices by increasing focus and concentration. So then you're adding a meditative quality on top of the yoga, on top of the physical yoga practice. And then it can just go on and on and on until you're kind of looking into the astrology and how the different planets link in with our bodies. So it's pretty much a personal practice.
Yeah.
It's so wide, you can take it into any direction.
Of course. And it's interesting because we're obviously in lockdown number 2 now. Have things been different? Have we sort of learnt things of how to cope a little bit more, do you think, having gone through it the first time earlier this year?
Yeah, it's less of a shock, and the conditions are a bit better. I mean, we still can't hold services in church with a congregation, and we still can't give people communion. But at least the clergy are allowed to go in and pray, and people are allowed to come and pray in the abbey and visit the building and light a candle or just enjoy the peace of being there. So the thing we can't do is have actual services at the moment. We are also this time allowed to broadcast from inside the abbey, and we are allowed to use a choir as long as they're very carefully distanced, and as long as they're adults. We're still not allowed to have boy and girl choristers because our choir children all come from different schools, and the rule is that choristers can only sing if they're from the same school, so we can't do that. Right. Still, I think we're coping with all this, but it will be a real relief when the lockdown ends, and then we can have proper congregations coming again. Though even then, of course, for quite a while, I think it'll be in much smaller numbers than we are used to here.
Of course, and as I say, we're recording this at the time of lockdown number 2, and we are approaching Advent and Christmas, which are sort of notoriously hectic and busy times in the life of the cathedral. How are things going to be different this year?
Well, they'll be very different, I think. I mean, we hope that at least by Christmas we will be allowed to have congregations again. But as I say, I'm sure they will still be quite